So we have another exciting topic.
I hope it's exciting. What do you think for us?
Well, it is exciting to me.
But that's like 50%, so we won't know.
50%, yes, good enough. I think I will bring that to my employer. 50% is done. Good enough.
Yes.
Finished. Project done.
To be fair, it is for most companies, so many games work that way.
That's a rabbit hole. We don't want to go there.
That's for another podcast.
That's for another
this
podcast.
episode, we have something way more fun.
Hopefully. So, in this episode, we want to discuss a topic that is what happens if people have superpowers in real life.
Yes.
And the interesting aspect to me was that it actually could become a possibility soon through technology like Neuralink and AI. Because like if we have brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink, then like there are already technologies out there where people who are paralyzed can like move around again through Neuralink, and people who are missing an arm get a prosthetic arm, a robot arm, and they can like move it through their thoughts, and like it works really well. Like people are already throwing around balls and all the good stuff. Like they're literally playing around and going through some very delicate tasks, and they can still do it even though it's a robot arm, an artificial arm. So this is really interesting.
It's kind of cool to think about it, but of course it's still kind of high-end.
Yes, it's not widely available yet, but it does show that we are pretty close to the situation where we could actually enter a society like in the story that I wanted to introduce the topic with, which is Cyberpunk 2077. And in Cyberpunk 2077 we have implants which are called cyberware, and relatively at the start of the game, depending on how fast you play the game, I guess within the first few hours of your playthrough, you will visit Vic, and Vic will give you 2 implants, one for your eyes and one for your hand. So you will get an anesthetic, and then you will, like, a machine will basically integrate the implant into your hand. And he was shown to basically take out an implant out of the protagonist's eyes, and then their vision went black, so they couldn't see anything.
I didn't enjoy that part.
Like imagining that,
I don't want to imagine that.
And then his eyes got replaced, and the software got booted up, and then he could see again.
Yes, with a brand new interface.
Exactly, yeah. And for example, the eye implant, the eye cyberware, allowed him to scan targets in his field of vision, and he was also connected to the NCPD database, so basically to the police database.
Yes.
And he could see, whether someone was a criminal or just their profession, sometimes stuff like that, like additional information. And even I remember from playing the game that you could even a lot of times see what the other people were equipped with, so which cyberware they were rocking, just like you were rocking cyberware. And cyberware had like many different effects. So sometimes it could be something just vision related, but it could also be like movement related, so you could move unnaturally fast, which is something that we very much see. There are a lot of enemies in Cyberpunk 2077, the game, that move unnaturally fast. They look like they're teleporting basically, and they make a very specific sound when they're doing that, so you can recognize them from that. But we can also see that in the anime for Cyberpunk, because the protagonist uses a certain cyberware that makes him move unnaturally fast. and it's like his trademark, I guess. So
Yes.
it's like the.
I
most
watched the
important cyberpunk.
anime. I didn't play the game.
Ah, okay.
Just so you know what you're dealing with here.
But you have seen the scene which showed, how you're how you get the cyberware.
Yes, I watched the scene.
So you understand the basic concept, and you
Yes.
like you've even seen it in the anime. Like it wasn't shown so clearly, the process, I believe. In the anime.
It
But
was a little bit more toned down.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like some realism was cut away.
Yes.
But yeah, so we have like vision related stuff. We have like hacks, right? Because right now, if you have a computer, you can hack certain devices. Like we have concepts like Internet of Things, and we have networks. So if you basically become a device yourself and you have software, obviously you can be hacked, and you can use yourself to hack other devices. So that is interesting as well. And there can be stuff like electricity related effects, fire related effects, or you could even have like you could replace your arms with firearms. Firearms. Oh.
I mean, yeah, literally firearms. Then I guess.
Yes. Or like it. I don't think it happens. Does it happen in Cyberpunk? I'm not entirely sure. But basically, you could become a cyborg, a cyborg. Like you could just get rid of your legs and replace them with some devices that make you float, fly, whatever, right?
Yes.
Like there is unlimited possibilities. You could even change your body to the point where you're more like a leopard, for example, because you want to be really agile. So, like you could even with this kind of realistic technology, you could get to a point where you land in something like Soulland, for example, where they have like animal souls and will behave and move similar to the animal that is their soul.
Yes.
So this is pretty crazy. So yeah, this is just the setup. What would be possible in real life. I feel like Cyberpunk really displays that very well. And the other interesting aspect of Cyberpunk is naturally the society itself.
Yes.
Because the society is very, it's very dark.
You say that, yes.
Like the criminality rates are insanely high. Police does not have control at all. Like it's just a common occurrence that there's a shooting going on, people dying. It's just normal. And then the area will just be, restricted, and even in the game, like you can just literally just go ahead and shoot some cops down, and you can totally get away with that very easily. Like if you kill too many cops, then eventually you will be hunted on more and more and more. So the alertness level rises, and the NCPD mobilizes stronger forces. But like initially, if you just kill a few cops, nobody will miss them. And even the cops that do exist are actually corrupt. So they are actually being paid off to look the other way. So this is the whole city that Cyberpunk is playing in is just corrupt to the bone.
Yes.
So yeah, that is pretty interesting. But they also have they have a lot of damage, and their technology is so advanced that they can use robots and stuff to rebuild things very fast.
Okay, but is in Cyberpunk is the government, city regime, whatever power structures there are?
Yes.
Are they do they have the capabilities to restrict the I don't know if do you play as a villain or
can you play as a villain? I'm not sure whether you can.
Okay,
I guess kind of can, but it's neither white nor black. It's gray, always gray.
But is the other power structures, the government, whatever, are they still in control? Do they have the resources to if they wanted to restrict the people, like just if you're talking about gunfights being like the usual thing? Do they have the possibilities to like restrict that, be strong enough to go against these people with now superpowers and form from cybernetics and stuff like that? Or is it just not possible anymore because the individuals are too strong by now?
Mm. Well, I'm not an expert on the structures in this world, but what I do remember is that like if you had the most money, you could pay really strong individuals to enforce whatever you wanted to. And there were politicians, and well, I mean, they had a certain influence, but they weren't really in control of the situation, right? Because of what I described. Like there were regular shootings, criminality was just all over the place, so they weren't really in control. They were just covering stuff up, I guess, and just following their own interests. And it gets even worse because they were actually not following their own interests, because you actually discover in the game that the politicians who are at the top are actually being controlled by AI.
Okay, that's kind of a cool plot twist. And now it's ruined for everyone watching.
Spoiler alert! Didn't I say that? Oh well, I mean, like if you listen to this podcast, or if you watch this podcast, then like obviously spoiler alert.
Yeah, and I mean, if viewers didn't get it by now, well, now it's too late, so they might just stick around as well, because now the game is ruined anyway. but that's a funny twist. And I mean, not so far-fetched anymore. Yeah, but I mean, Cyberpunk is kind of a story. Like it's about superpowers, but in form from technology. So it's like realistic superpowers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thing that will come, and of course, we already have a society where like if you have money, you can if you would have unlimited money, you would have unlimited power in this world, because you can buy everything if you pay enough.
Yes.
And of course, if you would be able to buy weapons and personnel, at some point you would have a force enough so that nobody could suppress you anymore.
Yes.
But what would never change, no matter how much money you have, would be your own frail. That your body is still frail. No matter how much money you have, if you have one person who secretly wants to kill you, in your close personnel, and you don't know it, you're fucked. You can't do anything about it. No matter how much power you have because of your money. For example, if I were the richest person of the world, you wanted to kill me, and we were together like this in a room, you could just do it. No matter what money I have, I couldn't prevent you from this. But this changes in a world like Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Because if I have enough money, I can enhance my body in a way that it's not possible to just kill me like that. Personal power resulting of money would be so much higher.
Yes.
So it makes sense that the world becomes like it is shown in the game, where the real power really lies with the people who have the money.
Yeah.
Way more than it is even now.
And risk is rewarded much more, because if you for example, if you buy implants, even though you don't have the money, just on credit, and you have a lot of success in using these as a mercenary.
Yes.
Because this is best profession. It's basically like an adventurer.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
It's pretty similar. You get certain tasks to fulfill, and well, you kill certain enemies or you retrieve something, and then you get a reward. It's a pretty similar concept to an adventure, actually. So it's not just about having a lot of money and then you're like buying power, you could say. It's also about being willing to take a lot of risk, because I mean, like, it's very invasive, right? Cyberware is extremely invasive. Like, you won't, like, if you replace your arm, then it's gone. Your real arm is gone forever. And like, it's shown in the anime from Cyberpunk that the protagonist replaces more and more parts of his body, and it really, really affects him. Like, it affects the body structure, it affects the way he thinks, like even his mental state, because there's this sickness called cyberpsychosis. And they actually, like, literally, and we see that today as well, like, even if you get an organ from someone else, it's being rejected by your body. And if you get a piece of technology, like something artificial, implanted into your body, there's also a rejection reaction. So you have to take medication all the time. So the more you have of that, the more sophisticated and invasive the medication will also be. So the effect and the price you have to pay becomes higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
But this is still rewarded, right? So you can either use the resources you already have, or go really high risk to attain great power. It's just a matter of how long will you wield that power. Because if you use your resources, you don't take a lot of risk. If you take a high risk, then it probably means you're going to die pretty soon.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of the question, how many people would be willing to take that risk. But
yes.
There is, like in this world of Cyberpunk, there's at least really much criminality, probably more than most regions we know, at least, most Western regions.
Yeah.
And like, people are poor because the government also, like, in a way, has to get more oppressive, I guess. And has to deal with more shit, because that's how society works now. So in this society, like, it makes sense for many people to, like, they have to take the risk because they can't afford living otherwise anymore. Like, that's not a thing for us. Maybe we don't have to take risks right now, but like, if we were poor, if we were struggling to survive, that's when people turn to criminality, which of course is a risk in itself. Or do risky jobs, or health, neglecting jobs.
Yeah.
And that, of course, is the extreme of that. But if people are starving, of course they do it, because why wouldn't they? They have nothing to lose otherwise.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes the society in this game, like, function as it is.
I mean, we kind of have this phenomenon of sacrificing your health in our current society as well.
Sure,
right?
yes, sure, yeah. And I mean,
it's called grind culture.
Again, it's called?
It's called grind culture.
Grind culture, yes.
You're rewarded for grinding, and you're doing that, and it's costing your health.
Yes.
And most people don't realize it. Again, it's a concept that is being romanticized.
Yes, it's
like, you're actually, like, most people are, like, proudly saying, yeah, I did not sleep for 3 nights in a row.
Yes, people are having burnouts left and right.
Yes.
And of course, it's also that like, you have a selected few, or you have people who get like, to, I don't know, become millionaires. And maybe because of that, even though they did as well, risk their health, or did impact their health with that, mentally and physically. But, well, people do succeed in a way that they become rich or successful.
Yes.
But, of course, they only tell the upsides. They mostly don't tell, like, what they had to give for that.
Yes.
And you don't hear about all the people who do the same thing, invest the same hours, invest the same amount of health, and they fail.
Yeah.
So they don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
They even probably have a problem, because like giving up your health, of course, means giving up energy, giving up time that you have in general in life, and you still, I don't know, have to earn money after that, but you burnt yourself out. It's like way harder to go from there instead of like going from zero but being healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the problem is that you only hear the upsides, but you don't hear the negative sides of like burning yourself out to achieve something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, of course, if we would be in this society, we would see all the cool people doing all the stuff they can because
Yes.
they have the awesome cybernetics. We don't see the like all the dead people in the way of that, which like didn't make it or burned out or became crazy because of the psychosis or stuff like that.
Yes, that's actually like a very important part of the anime. And I feel like the cyber psychosis to the protagonist is like, it can happen, but it's like with smoking, it won't happen to me, right?
Yeah,
It happens to others, but it won't happen to me, right?
Right, I'm the
I'll be
protagonist.
fine. yeah, exactly. I have plot armor.
Yes,
Plot
we
armor.
all have not armor.
Yeah, so here we, like in Cyberpunk, like we have kind of a realistic and dystopian approach. We explored criminality, we explored superpowers that come with a high price. So I would like to move on to a different category or kind of story that involves superpowers, which is stories like Dragon Ball,
Yes.
or Naruto, One Piece, One Punch Man. Like really fantastical kinds of superpowers. Like a level where there's usually a lot of destruction involved.
Yes.
So that is one difficult aspect to think about because, like, literally most of the time they're like destroying whole landscapes. And like if you think about this, like a whole society with this level of power, then a planet like Earth would be devastated in
Yes.
a really short time. Like it's like everyone in society suddenly has access to a red button where they can detonate nuclear bombs.
Yes.
That would not go well.
No, I don't think. I think generally, if like we would have superpowers, which basically just be like very huge amounts of power gathering on individuals, I think the two scenarios are either like a really oppressive government in any way or a power structure which like pushes everyone else down. It might not be a government, it might be like some organization, but like holds the power to itself in a way which might not be great but would work without the destruction of the world. Or this won't happen, and I think it would basically be similar to a apocalypse, because people will destroy each other. Like you said, like it depends on how strong the powers are. But if you get to the point of Dragon Ball, for example, like they do destroy like whole cities with singular punches. And in many stories they just get rebuilt, but of course this wouldn't happen in that way. Like, things will just get destroyed over time. And the problem is there isn't the element of control anymore. You can't just do what you want because you're strong enough.
Yeah.
Of course, in these stories you have, for example, in One Punch Man, you have like the hero organization which puts the villains in check, and they might destroy some stuff, but still, like, the good overwhelms the evil. But the problem is, I don't think that's how it would go, because the moment people have power, I think they generally would use it far more selfish than is shown in the shows. I think the villain side would be much stronger, which would be would have more resources, because they can just take the resources for themselves. Like, the heroes wouldn't be able to do that. So it doesn't make sense to me that the heroes are so much stronger in most of the stories, and even if they would be stronger, like heroes have to like win all the time to uphold a society as we know it. Villains have to like just win one war or one fight, let's say. Like at any point, as soon as some like mafia or I don't know what kind of power structure takes over, society would never be able to go back, because the moment society turns out like that, turns out like in Cyberpunk or I don't know what, people would adapt and would never be able to recover from that. Like to go back, it would take like one singular beat, like one Saitama, I don't know, which would be alone be enough to like unroot all the evil from our society, I don't know. And I mean, of course it could happen, but it's like really unlikely, I think. I think if we have like this amount of individual power, we are kind of doomed.
I don't know. I think it depends on the goals that these evil organizations. I mean, nothing's black and white, but let's say there are evil organizations. It depends on their goals, because if they want to see the world burn, yes, I agree.
Okay,
but maybe they're like, okay, like we want to reach our goals, and they're not, you know, for the good of society. And we may kill some individuals and stuff, but we still want to enjoy the merits of a working society, like the luxuries, and like we want to treat general society as our servants, basically. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
we want to have vacations,
possible, yes,
and beautiful environment and all that stuff.
I mean, then we are kind of... I mean, that's kind of the setting now, I guess, for many people who are just, like, rich as fuck. So, I guess that might be kind of the same. It's just, I think, the scale of the power which they have over society might be far stronger than it is now. I mean, it also kind of depends how much the difference of the powers would be. Like, in most stories... it's not just that everyone is equally stronger, or it's whether some people are a little bit stronger, because like in My Hero Academia they have like some cool tools, like maybe, I don't know, I can create water or stuff like that. And then there are some people who are like way more stronger because they have this really strong quirks. Like, I don't know, All Might, of course. So I think it depends much on how great is the imbalance between people.
But I do think, I don't think that power equals power in society. So, like, if you have the strongest superpower, you will not necessarily stand at the top of society. Why is that? Well, simple example. We have a couple, man and woman, and the man is maybe 2 meters tall, and he's pretty muscular.
Basically me.
Yeah, basically you. Yeah, that's taking you. Right? That's
yes.
Yeah, that's why I thought of that example, right? You're sitting right in front of me, and that just influenced me.
Yes, makes sense.
And then we have a woman. She's maybe like 160, and she's pretty thin. She's not very strong, but she's the one deciding everything in the relationship, and she's the one terrorizing the guy. This is actually something that does occur. This happens, and these guys are usually really embarrassed about this, and when they like get beat up by their girlfriend, they might, like, they could call the police, but if they do that, then the police won't believe that they were beaten up by this little frail girlfriend of theirs. But it does happen. That does exist. So even if we had a society with superpowers, there could be like the strongest Saitama in the world, but he has this abusive girlfriend, and he just listens to everything she says, and he lets her terrorize him.
Yeah, I mean, sure, makes sense.
So there is this mental component to it, I believe. And that would not change. Like, even no matter how strong you would become physically, in terms of your role in society, that wouldn't matter as long as your mind stayed weak. Right? Because,
sure.
we can even see that ourselves. Like, sometimes we feel weak and we exercise physically and we grow stronger physically, like we get more muscle mass or whatever, or we just have better control over our muscles and we can do more, we can achieve more, we can run longer distances, lift more weight. But that doesn't, like, a lot of the time, it doesn't give us more mental fortitude. Especially not in the long run. Maybe for a moment, but not in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in like, if I think about like a society, of course, we are not in the context of like a relationship where one part is toxic or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we are in a context where we have an organization again, and then the chef of the organization, which like might not be the strongest in the company, but he like controls the people working for him.
The boss.
The boss, yes.
The chef would be the one cooking.
Yes, the boss. And like, I mean, it would work because maybe it's hard for the people to like turn against the company, because even if you are strong, maybe your family isn't. So people have pressure in any way over you, control over you.
Yes.
Or maybe even if you're the strongest one in the company, you might not be strong enough to like go against the whole company.
Exactly. Yeah. That interesting.
I mean that's how slavery worked. Like in many societies, there were more slaves than like free living people. So if all the slaves, like in ancient Egypt, for example, if all the slaves just turned together and started a revolution, like the Egyptians could do shit to stop them. They would be fucked. But the problem is, like, for the slaves, it was like they weren't able to like just start a group chat. Yeah, do we want to revolt? Yes, no. Like
flash mob.
Like it wouldn't be possible. They would have to start and hope that the others join in.
Yeah.
And they know that if the others don't join in, which they probably won't because they are also scared, then you are fucked. So that's the. I mean, sure, that would be. I guess could be similar. That you, even if you are individually strong enough, like you would still need other people to join you to like start any thing or like turn against your employer. I don't know what.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And also this aspect that even though you are physically not vulnerable, you are mentally vulnerable, in the sense that like your confidence might be shattered or something like that. Like you might experience shame. Shame is another form of damage. Or your loved ones might be killed, or you might be but yeah, so this aspect is really prominent in Dragon Ball and so on. But like
I still believe that maybe there would be society, but I still believe it would be never good in a way. That I think the problem is the moment that everyone has like have so much power. Yeah. It's really hard to trust people in a way. Like if I walk across the street, like I have the trust that people don't just attack me for no reason, because we have a government, we have laws, and it's hard to just go against. The moment superpowers come into play, I don't know shit about people or what their abilities are. Like if I look at someone, I can gauge, like I can assess the person, how strong is it, how fast could the person be, like in a way. But I don't know if someone has the superpower to just like run at lightning speed. And would be able to just grab everything I have and run away before anyone could stop him. I can't have the trust in the government anymore to uphold the rules. And the moment people lose that trust in the government, you get in a situation where people think, okay, well, I can't stop anyone or nobody stops anyone from hurting me. So the most efficient way, like even if it is egoistic, is to be the one to first do shit before others do the shit to you. Not everyone will think so, but some people will think so, and the more people think so, the more it pushes other people over the edge, because they see, yeah, well, world is turning to shit.
No good examples.
Yes, and I think that's something that would happen very like it's very likely to me, at least, because I can't imagine people trusting each other in the same way if you don't know what the other person is capable of.
Yes. Still, we are social.
Yes.
We need each other.
That's
so
true.
No matter how much we mistrust each other, we still have to take the chance. So
Yes.
like we learned that through evolution, that we need to stick together.
Yes.
So I think societal interaction might change. Like, because for example in evolution we developed things like the handshake. The handshake comes from showing I have no weapons, right? I come in peace.
Yes.
Right? I'm not holding it behind my back
Yes.
and concealing a weapon.
You know, that makes sense.
But this is actually the explanation that researchers came up with.
Yes.
How this handshake developed. You know, that you're showing, okay, here I come in peace. I don't hold my hands behind my back. This would be suspicious.
Yeah, that's
I'm
good to
concealing the
think
weapon.
about. Yes.
Because that's what the enemy will think.
I thought about that, but why would you have that cusp? But sure, yeah.
And I think, I can't really imagine. It's hard to imagine what would develop in a society with superpowers. But I'm pretty sure that some degree of societal structures would still be able to develop, where you could show, like maybe there would be something like. It depends on how the superpowers work, but maybe there would be something like where you could make yourself vulnerable. So, like you can actually sense whether the other person has their superpower active or not. And if you're greeting someone, then it's like customary to tone your superpowers down, to just basically deactivate them, tune out of them, and you will be unarmed. And the other person can sense that. It's polite to if your status in society is lower, then you do it first in a greeting, and then the other person will do it too. That's something I could very well imagine. Like, for example, you're younger than the other person in front of you, so you will have to do it first because you have to show respect for the elderly.
Yes.
Something like that. Or you're the man and you have a woman in front of you. Women are generally weaker, maybe even in that society, physically, and that's why it's polite to take the first step and show, okay, I'm not hostile, so I will tone down my abilities.
Yes.
So I can very well imagine a concept like that. And I just think that through this urge of having to stick together, through this urge of, it's called society for a reason, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because we are social, and we need to stick together. So yeah. Do you have anything to add to this aspect?
I don't. I do have a quote.
Okay, I'll take it.
A quote I think is fitting. This quote is from Death Note, the anime. Death Note is... it's not that there are superpowers in the society, it's really just very few individuals, mostly the main character even, who have the superpower in form of the Death Note. They used to instantly kill people, and use it as a kind of self-implemented justice system where they kill criminals or people they deem not worthy of living anymore.
Yes.
And his father, the main character is like Yagami, he has this Death Note. His father, I don't have the name written down, but his father is the head policeman, I think, in his district.
Okay.
Or commissioner. He is a policeman and is kind of more high ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And he, of course, is looking for Kira. Kira is the villain deck name of the protagonist, and he wants to arrest him. You watched Death Note?
No.
No. Okay, then this is But what the Death Note is,
I understand the concept of
Yes.
Death Note. Yes.
Okay, so the father of the protagonist is kind of searching for his own son, even if he doesn't know it. And of course, there's this whole philosophical debate character of the story, if it is right what the main protagonist is doing.
Yes.
He is becoming a villain, of course, because he is just randomly killing, not randomly, but he is killing people without any right to do that in the society. So he is a criminal himself, but of course he does it in the belief that if you eradicate all evil from society, the society becomes good. It's a questionable approach, but well, it makes sense in some way, even if it maybe is not the best way to do it, because of course it also induces fear. There are many supporters he has, but of course many people who fear him.
Yeah.
And his father is one of the people who believe him as evil because he is randomly killing people. But what he also says, it is of course getting known that it's some kind of superpower because there are no logical causes which lead to all the people dying. Some just randomly die of a heart attack, and it's a pattern because it's only the criminals which commit like some heavy crimes at first that are dying. And the quote of his father is, it's a really short one: "The real evil is the power to kill people." That's the quote. And I think there is truth in that what he basically says is the evil is not Kira, the evil is not the person behind, it's the power. Which is, in this context of the story, of course, like way more true than he thinks, because the Death Note comes from the Shinigamis, death gods basically, and I think it's for their amusement that they do it. It's like sort of a game for them. So the power is basically literally death gods. So his statement even makes more sense, but still without that. The moment what I believe the statement is saying, which I think is kind of cool, the moment you give a person power, it's really hard for that person to still like be good, because you don't you can do whatever you want. like for me, it's not only that I try to be a good person because of personal belief. I also try to be a good person because it's just profitable. It's better because I don't want to go against society. It would make my life harder. The moment it doesn't make my life harder to go against society, it's really hard. Like if no one is looking, how many times you make something, you do something you don't think or are not proud of yourself for doing, but you know it has no drawbacks, no consequences of doing.
Yeah.
And it's really hard under these conditions to still be good.
Yeah.
So that's what I think the quote wants to say, and I really like the quote for that.
I totally find it interesting and I understand it, but I have to disagree.
That's interesting, yes.
Why is that? So I think it's not the power that is evil. Let me give you an example. Sadhguru actually said that, or taught me this quote. He's like he's not a story character.
Oh,
he's actually like a pretty old Indian monk.
Yeah, I don't listen to you people. Continue.
And like he's very wise, and a lot of people follow him, and he's like this movement of saving the environment, biodiversity movement, stuff like that. And he's trying to do a lot of good in the world. And one of the things that he talked about is when a murderer kills someone with a knife, does that make the knife evil?
Yeah, true.
Because the knife can't move on its own, right?
Yes.
It's the hand that uses the knife to kill someone. The knife can't do anything on its own. And then he said that in the context of AI, because people are like, okay, AI is so dangerous, and we're so scared, and AI will destroy us, and they're really worried. But he's like, well, no matter what AI does, it's not evil, inherently evil. Like if it learns to be evil, then it learned it from us. And before AI destroys us of its own will, it will be a tool that will be used by humans, by people, to destroy people, society, the world, you name it.
Okay, yeah.
So it is still it's not the power, it's not the tool that is evil. It is, and it's also not the person. It is actually just the act. So it's it's a decision.
Yes.
So in that moment, your action, your decision can be evil, which is also a matter of perspective, because like someone has murdered another human being and I kill them, so in a way I kill and I'm evil, but for another person, like the murderer's victim had relatives, and they will be like, yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, sure. It's all like, it all depends on the standpoint. Even generally saying taking someone else's life is only evil because we as society define it as such.
Yes.
And it's kind of instincts, I guess, that a species wants to preserve other members of the species if possible. But generally speaking, like, there is no universal rule. Like, it's not like for religious people it is that God came, but like, it's not that there is like a general rule, like in a video game, that you get minus points on karma because you killed someone. It's something we define so that society works. Yeah.
Although that's interesting, because karma is actually something from, I think, Indian culture, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's from Hinduism.
And I think it's actually about, like, it's a spiritual topic, and like you're being, like, you take steps back from enlightenment. So every individual life wants to reach enlightenment, and like when you kill someone, for example, you get farther away from enlightenment. So in a way, if that's true, if we consider that, then these are basically like game minus points that you get for killing someone. But I feel like you don't have to, like, I'm not sure if you necessarily have to grow farther away from enlightenment just because you're killing someone. I think it's, again, more about the intent behind it. Like, if you were to accidentally
makes sense.
kill someone, you could still be at peace with it. And that's, I think that's kind of in tune with the animal world, because we always consider the animal world as cruel, but in reality, I mean, mostly animals just kill for survival. There are exceptions to that rule, but most of the time, this is what it's like.
Yes.
So yeah, very interesting quote.
Yeah. Do you want to continue? Or otherwise, I would have a different story to talk about.
Okay.
But so you don't know, I told you to read. It's Primal Hunter. because the Primal Hunter is about it starts with the main character and all other humans to one day teleport basically in another world. But it's more of a tutorial they go through. They have superpowers and they have levels like in a video game, and then they come back to the original Earth, but everything is filled with monsters now. So basically society gets changed radically, and everything is about like surviving, fighting, getting stronger, getting levels.
Yes.
And we are, like in many other stories, in a setting where we have a superhuman society. What this story like difference from many other stories, I think, is that it's not just our planet, but it's like a whole multiversum in this story. So we have many planets, many galaxies, many universes, and the strength of the individuals is like way higher than in most stories. So they are differentiated in grade. They start at, I think, G grade, then go towards A, then S grade, and after S grade is like literally gods. And the further you progress, not only your power gets stronger and stronger. I think when you are around B grade, usually you are strong enough to just destroy planets if you wish to, and you also like get older and older. So I think for C grade the maximum amount of time you can live is like up to 10,000 years, depending on the species. And when you're like in S grade, you can live more than 100,000 years, maybe a million years without problems. And after that, the godhood stage, there you are immortal. That is defining of that stage. And the power, of course, grows immensely. So it's like the whole superpower, but like on a much grander scale than in most stories. And what I think in this world is interesting, that the rules, for example, if taking life is evil or anything like that, are way different. That's why I want to talk about it now. And it's, for one thing, completely normal to take other lives on your pursuit to power, because you get like experience in that world and gain level like that. And I mean, of course, the fighting in other stories also makes your powers grow, because you just learn how to use your powers.
Yeah.
But of course there you have an actually numerical value which grows, aka your level, by defeating other enemies. The stronger they are, the better. So that's the one thing. It's more like in Animal Kingdom, where you kill to survive. That's not about survival anymore. At some point you don't even need to eat or anything like that, but it's about growing stronger. And of course it is for your survival, because you live longer if you kill more, in a way. So that's the one thing. And the second point is that the value of lives is just not viewed equally anymore. Like in our society, we kind of have the standard, or many people want to have the standard that lives are equal. Like no human has different values, no matter how poor or rich, or I don't know what color their skin is, which makes sense. We kind of do, of course, view other species different. So I don't think most people would put a human above, for, I don't know, mouse or anything.
Yes.
Maybe not above their own cat or stuff like that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like humans, view other humans as more valuable as other animals, which of course I think is biologically makes sense. It's for animals as well, the case. But in Primal Hunter, the value of someone with a higher grade is viewed as much higher as the value of someone at the lower grade, just because, well, I mean, of course, the lifespan is different. Like we view an elephant as more valuable as a mouse, for example, because elephants are, well, they live longer and there are fewer of those. So it makes sense for us to give them a higher value than a mouse, for example, which lives for a short amount, and there are many mouses throughout the world. And the same thing is in Primal Hunter. The higher you rank, that the fewer people reach that rank, which makes them more valuable for organizations, for example, but also just in general, and well, they live longer. So one life of an S grade equals to a million lives of D grades, for example. So yeah, they are more valuable for most people, and of course, if you're a god, well, you live for all eternity. It kind of makes sense just from a power perspective that you view those individuals as well more valuable. Just like because comparing them to an ordinary human is like comparing an ordinary human to an ant or something like that. So the view of what value does life uphold is largely different, I think, from what we have in our society. And I imagine that this would be true for any superhuman society, maybe not in that scale, but I still think there would be a difference in how people and lives are viewed and what value they uphold.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think concepts like, I think the point still stands that people would still try to stick together.
Of course,
but
yes.
probably more like in this scenario, probably more like among the same grade or similar level.
Yes, it is that way in the society, yes.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. But yeah, in general, I would expect them to try and stick together. I mean, it makes sense from a life expectancy perspective as well, right? Because I feel like even in fantasy settings where you have humans and elves, it's a difficult setting of if you have a romance there, because one partner will live much longer than the other.
Yes,
so, it will it might really hurt them.
Yes.
So it might really become difficult, or it actually hurts the human partner because they're like, you always stay young, but I feel so bad. I've grown old and wrinkly, and I'm not worthy of you anymore. And they're like, oh. Yeah. So all kinds of problems there.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel like a society like that would be very different. I think in Battle Through the Heavens we actually have a similar phenomenon. Even like in general, I think in many Asian countries the light novel stories go a similar route. And Battle Through the Heavens is just one more example where you have a really hostile society where strength, your literal power is rewarded greatly, where you have a lot of cruelty, where killing is just the norm and the strong rule. And the interesting thing about in Battle Through the Heavens is even the protagonist first was considered a genius, and as soon as his powers degraded and he fell in level, he actually lost power in society and he was looked down upon. He was still, that's another example of power is not absolute. He was still stronger than a lot of others, probably, even when his powers fell, but he was still damaged by shame, so his ego was damaged. So there's this separation of his physical power on one hand, and on the other hand, the ego, which is still vulnerable.
Yes, it's the point you made earlier. Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. It makes sense.
And in Battle Through the Heavens, we again have this pattern of some weaker characters. With less power. So if we were speaking about levels, there may be characters who are, level 50, for example, out of 100, and they still might serve characters of level 1 or 0. Because there is, for example, Ya Fei in Battle Through the Heavens, and she has this information network. She's very skilled with people. She's very connected. And that is something that the physically strong characters in that stories do not have. And they need this power first. So they really respect that. and it's just another form of power. So she's being protected by strong people, which makes this whole sticking together aspect very prominent again, because they need each other. She needs their physical power, and they need her skills in terms of people with the connections and the information network.
But I think at least the people she has people serving her who are strong, but I don't think like it's never that the strongest people in that region at least are the one serving someone. Like I feel like the strongest people still always are the ones standing atop some organization. For example, I think like the first really strong person is what's the sect called where he has the three agreement?
I can only remember the English name is Misty Cloud Sect, right?
Misty Cloud Sect, yes. And there you have like the Dojang, the 70 plus person who is like
that's Dozong.
Dozong, yes. So I still think it's most of the time it's case like that where still the really strong person, the strongest person is on top, but of course you have like less strong people who wouldn't be able to alone when they were alone to like assemble a huge amount of power because they are not strong enough for that, but they are still strong, so they rather serve someone who has like a lot of resources and profit from that, but of course they are serving them.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, yes, there will always be people in such a society, and with that I agree, who will see the short-term benefits, because we have that in our current society as well, and I think that pattern wouldn't change much, because again, we don't have much change in the mentality, we only have a lot of like external change, so in the physicality. So I feel like for the short-term benefit, really strong individuals would just kill off others who they consider like weak and useless, but in the long run it would cost them, because if the Misty Cloud Sect would have actually eliminated everyone else in the region, I mean, like basically they were on the path to turning everyone in the Jama Empire against them. Like, I think in terms of economy, the region would have collapsed, and even if not, even if they would have preserved enough lives for the economy to still work, losing people like Yafei, like really, really capable people, that is not something that you can make up for in the long term, I believe. So it will really, really cost you dearly in the long run. You will really feel that loss.
Yes.
So you might be happy at first, but in the long run you'll be like, I shouldn't have done that. And there will always be, like, evolution will always favor good outcomes. So even though in the short term killing off your enemies might be a good outcome, in the long term I think evolution will see, okay, the better outcome would have been to really think hard about who you should kill and who you really need.
I mean, yeah, that makes... The thing is, at some point, like, if everyone acts that way, everyone will kill each other off. And I mean, maybe it wouldn't be to the point that every human would be dead, but still, at some point, because so many superhuman people kill each other, maybe the powers of the individuals will degrade because, well, all the strong people are dead, you don't have anyone to compete with anymore, so there will be like, if we have such an let's just kill each other attitude, then maybe the powers will get weaker, and at some point we are closer to the level of individual humans, so that society can take over again. So maybe you're right in the sense that evolution finds a way. Yeah. Either every human will be dead at some point, or we will get our shit together. Yeah.
And there's also another interesting concept in the Chinese anime Soul Land, which is Slaughter City. Because in
Yes.
Slaughter City you have a level 99 character, and in Slaughter City no one has their powers. It's all suppressed.
Yes.
You cannot use your soul, which is your superpower there,
Yes.
because this level 99 character, the ruler over Slaughter City, has the ability to, like, it turns out he has a domain ability, and this ability makes it so everyone is unable to use their soul power.
Yes.
So in this setting, which actually inspired me for my own story, you can actually think of a scenario where you would have like organizations where people band together under a strong individual, and the strong individual would, or a group of strong individuals would make sure that at all times people in a certain region or city or whatever could use their powers, so they could live together in peace like we do in our current society. And that would regulate the structures basically.
Yes.
And these strong individuals would probably have an interest in keeping up these structures, because they're not really interested in destruction, because they also want to enjoy good life, and like the purpose of life is not to just kill everything off. Like we will always look for possibility. We will always look for more. We will always look for exploration, for enjoyment.
Yes.
And I think these kinds of things would keep them from destroying each other.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since most of the time in these stories you have like a cap of the level.
Yes.
Like usually the characters will not reach this god level, but usually they're stuck right before that.
Yes. Yes.
And several individuals will reach that level, and then they will reach a stalemate. So it's like superpowers who have developed nuclear technology, and there's like a Cold War going on maybe, but they don't fire the nuclear weapons.
That makes sense. That's actually in Primal Hunter, it's for example the same. Even though there is no real limit on power, at some point it's just no one of the strongest gods is like strong enough or is developing fast enough so that they could just outpace everyone else.
Yes.
So there are like the 12 gods which are considered maybe as the strongest, and they are all keeping each other in check. No single god is just being able to suppress everyone else, because
Exactly.
if all 11 other strong gods would band together, they would defeat him. So no one is would throw the first stone, because it's stupid.
Yes. Which brings us back to society, or the example with slavery, where slaves could overturn their rulers, but they don't do it because they're scared to start. If they're alone, then they will end up destroyed themselves.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but there are so many more aspects. I mean, like if we move away from the societal aspect and even move to something way more simple, it already gets really crazy, because in Dragon Ball, for example, you have Goku, and you see him in the Cell Saga. You see him holding plates or glasses, cups, and him and his son, they keep breaking everything in the household.
Yes.
That's like really impractical. So I feel like everything we know in life and we take for granted would be it might be vastly different, like the world, because it just doesn't make sense. In for example, Battle Through the Heavens, or even Dragon Ball or whatever. I mean, Battle Through the Heavens is a better example. Battle Through the Heavens is a story where everyone theoretically could have superpowers, or it's at least very, very common to have superpowers. And society is still like really similar to ours. Like they use cups, they use plates,
Yeah.
they have buildings. But would you really have that in a society with superpowers?
Sure.
Would you even have buildings? Would you need that?
You wouldn't need it. Like, do you care about like just sleeping out in the rain? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's
because-
the question.
Yeah, exactly. Could it be that your body is so resilient that you don't need something like clothes or a home, a warm
Yeah.
home?
Maybe-
Because you'll never get cold. You don't really care about rain because there's nothing like infections
You
or
don't
anything
feel
like
white
that.
animals anymore.
Exactly, because you're so powerful. So, do you really need a home?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess from a mental state perspective, like if I would become Superman right now, I still would want to have a home because like I'm used to having a home. I want to have this place of that's my own, like constant in my life. So I guess from a mental perspective, because even if we are physically super powerful, like I said many times, we still are not mentally super powerful. So I guess from that standpoint,
But but you wish for that because that's a cultural thing, don't you? Because you didn't grow up
yeah,
with
sure,
the superpower.
sure. Yeah, okay,
If-
that's true. That's true.
If everyone grows up with the superpowers, then their state of mind will be vastly different. Like
That's
they will
true.
still have insecurities and all that, so that will stay the same. But the need for a home might not be present anymore.
That's probably true. Yeah.
So like we might not have infrastructure, or infrastructure would look just vastly different. I mean, would it even make sense? That brings us back to the destruction aspect. If I can destroy a whole city, as we now know it, with a snap of my finger, does it even make sense to build something like that?
I mean,
it loses its
if we
value.
have that destruction power, it might also be possible that people have, in the same way, creation powers, where you can just create a city, or maybe not just like that, but maybe way faster and way cheaper than we can
Yeah.
now. So I guess it depends on do the creation and destruction powers balance each other out.
Yeah. And it's also, I think, a question of coexistence between levels of power. So, for example, characters that have really high power often are demonstrated, especially in the Asian stories, in the Eastern stories. They're often demonstrated to not need sustenance anymore. They don't need to eat, they don't need
Yes.
to drink, really. Like Xiaoyan, for example, is without food and water for months at a time, usually. When he cultivates, it's basically a state of meditation. You can compare it to that. And he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat. While at the same time, there are weaker people, just if you compare it to our current society, normal people, who do have to drink, who do have to eat.
Yes.
So they do need cups. They do need plates.
Yes, that makes sense.
Just Xiaoyan doesn't.
Yes.
So that's an interesting thought. Like, how would that influence the infrastructure? Like, would the strong individuals maybe just go on vacation in areas where the weaker people live, and the stronger individuals band together in regions that just look vastly different in terms of infrastructure because they don't need plates and cups
Makes sense.
and houses?
The thing is, like, normal people wouldn't want, in that perspective, like if we have society, maybe we have regions or diplomats, I don't know, I wouldn't want a superhuman to represent me because the needs of the superhuman are vastly different than mine.
Yes,
So it makes
yes.
sense that we have a split in society in some way.
Yes.
So, or like maybe not completely, but like that they are largely split, the superhuman society and the normal human society.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the needs are different, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's also what brings us back to the aspect of how common is it, because there are individuals in our current society that are weaker than others as well.
Sure.
It's not even people I don't know, who are missing their legs or whatever, it starts with kids.
Sure, yeah.
Very common.
Yes.
And they still live with the adults.
Yes.
It's actually just considered normal for the adults to take care of the kids. So a concept like that is actually very possible as well. I mean, we do have similar needs, but still, kids are much, much more needy.
Yeah, how we obtain or fulfill those needs is like different, really different.
So even though the stronger individuals in a society with superpowers have vastly different needs, they probably a lot of times have just less needs in a way. Like we can just take a few things away, like drinking and eating, and then we have the needs of a strong individual.
Yes.
They probably have some additional needs as well, but I guess they are so strong then that they could just travel somewhere very fast and have a place where they can fulfill these needs, and all of the other time they could still live together with the weaker individuals, and it could be a societal responsibility to make sure that the weaker ones are safe and cared for, that they have enough to eat and to drink, to protect them.
I mean, yeah, I guess it would be like, for example, entertainment, like if I want to go out to eat or stuff like that, even if I don't need to, maybe I like to, or just go out to play games, or I don't know what. Maybe in the society of the really strong people, no one would do like the jobs that are required to that, so they are kind of dependent on that, on normal people for that, and in return they, like you said, give protection in any sort, help or whatever they can do with their powers. So I guess it would still be that the people coexist. Maybe there is a split, but not a complete split, because they are still dependent on each other.
Yeah. Also because if you have superpowers, yeah, you might be able to mine resources much, much faster than some weak people. Yes. But will you want to do it? It's really boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't
have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. They are there, right? They exist. You can just make them do it.
That's true.
You don't have to lift a finger. You are lazy.
Yeah.
You want to... Like it's actually very likely that even entities with superpowers will be like they have an efficiency mode. So actually, like when you think about it, this is a really interesting aspect that I just discovered, because right now we have really different levels of strength as well. Like we already talked about this. We have really strong men who are very trained, very tall, muscular, have a strong build, and then we have like a kid who's like who can't do shit. Like they can't even lift, I don't know, a kilogram of sugar.
Yes, sure.
They can't, like kids at first when they're born, they can't even lift their own head.
They can't do
anything.
Yeah.
They can't even like turn around or anything. They have to first learn that. That's how weak they are. So there are really vast differences even in our society in terms of strength. But the really tall man with the muscular, strong build will still not always use his strength. Actually, in reality, he will conserve his strength, because we're made for that. We are made to conserve energy because in terms of evolution, we our bodies learn to conserve energy in case of danger, of coming danger in the future. So even in a society with superpowers, someone at level 70 might be strong enough to kill like some minions at level 10 or something, but maybe they just might not do it because they fear that the moment they do that, they expend that little bit of energy that they would have needed to survive a battle against a higher level opponent.
Yes. Yeah, or of course, if we are like in the keeping each other in check scenario again, maybe you have like two entities at the same level, which are the strongest. No one wants to exert themselves in any amount, which would be giving the other one the chance to exploit its moment
Yes.
of weakness.
So that they have the monopoly.
Yes, yes,
And they are the like eternal, the absolute ruler.
yes,
That is super interesting.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could
I
talk
was-
about this for hours.
Yes, I would say
You're
that
right.
it should come to an end at some point.
Probably.
I do have one other quote which I could just because
Right.
I like this quote. It isn't super fitting to the theme right now. It's from another book I read, similar to Private Hunter.
Uh-huh.
It's called He Who Fights Monsters.
He who fights monsters.
Yes, it's about a story where the main protagonist Jason comes into another world. It's an isekai story, and well, he fights monsters there. Has also like the same theme of people having crates.
Mhm.
But it's called they start as normal, then iron, silver, gold, then diamond,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, they gain superpowers, they get stronger throughout the crates, and are able to fight stronger monsters, threatening their society. And he becomes an adventurer as well, so he does obtain superpowers and fights. And he talks about, or it's often that he has to make some morally difficult choices where he isn't sure if he is doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he says, and this is the quote, "When you're just a face in the crowd, then you can hold an idea without being required to live up to it." And that I thought is a really nice quote, that if you're just some dude, you can, it's easier to have an idea because you're never really put to the test. But if you have really difficult decisions, in many games, for example, where decisions matter, we have to make those decisions. In those situations, it's really hard to still live up to your ideas. And yeah, I guess if you would be like some superhuman dude with powers without beyond imagination, you will be put to the test. Because even if you don't want to use your power, your physical prowess to gain might for yourself, like people who know that you have that power will try to use you in any way and will put you into a difficult situation. For example, like let's say you were Superman and I would kidnap someone you love and say, well, go kill that dude for me, then you get your daughter back. It's hard to live, like to do the right thing in that situation.
Yes.
Well, maybe it's extreme and I tell you to go wipe the whole city. Many people would do that for people they love.
Absolutely.
And they wouldn't say it's a good thing, but it is hard to do the good thing in
Yes.
that situation. Yeah, that's the last quote I have for today.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. I like it very much.
Me too.
Yeah, we do have our tradition,
Yes.
where I have a question for you. If you don't want to say anything else before that.
Well, I mean, we might just bring this topic back at some point.
Yes, like do another round of this. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question for you, it has to do with abilities in a way. And the question is, do you have any experience where abilities or the mindset that you have sets you apart from your peers, separates you in any way, good or bad? And if yes, how was this experience for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there is an ability that I defined myself with in the past, and that is my IQ.
Yes.
So that is like obviously the first thing that comes to mind because it was like a big thing in my life, and I had nothing else. Like my IQ was just high enough for me to have no need to develop any social skill or emotional skills, emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I was able to develop something that is called cognitive empathy. So
Yes.
there's like natural empathy where it can just naturally sense the emotional state of someone else and naturally connect. And I would just go ahead and think through like 1,000 different scenarios. Like someone would show a behavior, and I would just think through 1,000 scenarios
Yes.
and just choose one of the ways to react.
You
Like what's appropriate.
You would analyze that of course
Yes.
the situation and feeling.
Yes.
Yes.
So that was really problematic. But what I experienced back then was that I wasn't feeling part of any group. I was feeling isolated because, for example, like you would develop certain habits. Like at first you wouldn't really think about it. You would just be able to, like you would just have these more advanced cognitive abilities. So someone else would try something and they would make a mistake, and you would easily be able to see the mistake and correct them.
Yes.
And sometimes that would go well, but especially if that were to repeat itself, some people would have a grudge regarding you. And if, like in my case, and this is actually a very common phenomenon with intelligent people, I actually turned a lot of people against me because of that. So that's where the isolation came from. A lot of people were just really dissatisfied with that. Okay, that was really loud.
Yes.
So we have
Recording spiked.
we have to mute that next time. Also mute the phones next time.
Yes.
I did realize that.
Yes.
But it also had an effect on me, because then I would feel threatened by that, and I would feel hurt in my pride and in my feelings, and I would get really defensive, and like I would act really arrogant because I lost the emotional connections more and more. So you think, okay, what do I have left? Okay, my intelligence. So you define yourself via the intelligence, and if you define yourself via your intelligence, you will act very arrogantly towards other people. So you will correct other people more.
Yes.
So it becomes a vicious circle, and you isolate yourself more and more and more. And that's actually what happened. And I was just lucky that I met some people who could put up with that, I guess, and maybe where I felt like I didn't need to correct them as much, and maybe they were just on a similar level or had some qualities that I really respected. So I was like, okay, like I can, like even I with my low level social and emotional skills can see that they have something that I don't. So that like there is no way I can justify acting arrogantly here. Like I'm clearly below them in some serious aspects here.
Yes.
So that was kind of a point that saved me there. But yeah, I feel like that's to me the best comparison to a situation where you have superpowers and that really has a big impact on your life. In our society, when someone just has a high IQ, that will a lot of times isolate them.
Yes, the problem is probably it is for parents. I don't know. It's like highly valued, and you get taught that you should define yourself with it because that's what gets praised the most often. Like I didn't hear, oh, I don't know, you're so kind-hearted, my son. I hear, oh, you're so smart, nice.
Yes.
So of course you learn to value that the highest of yourself, and the most of yourself. So you did that as well. But the problem is, it is kind of a power. Being smart is a strength, of course, that you had as a child, that you still have, but you weren't taught how to use that strength the best in society.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it caused you problems as well, because you weren't taught good enough.
Yes.
You taught yourself at some point, so now you are using that power more efficiently by not destroying your relationships and instead focusing on how to improve your life. You're an analytical person, that I know of you, so that's a strength, but you're not arrogant anymore. Or at least I don't feel it. Maybe you're really good at covering
The actor.
Yeah, you're an actor, so I don't know if I should trust you in that regard. But nice, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's I like to hear that.
Me too.
Well, then I guess that brings us to the end for
Yes.
now. Maybe this topic gets a second vote at some point.
Yeah, if we bring it back, it needs to be a specific sub-aspect of this topic
Yes,
that we want to explore further.
Yes, I think because there are many aspects we could explore more.
Exactly. So the topic was just so broad that
Yes.
we could talk about this for hours and hours.
Yes.
But if we make it really specific, then I think it becomes much easier to stay within an hour or something.
Yes, probably. But still very fun. Very
Yes.
fun to talk about.
Yes, definitely.